Well, I want to welcome everybody back. It's Tuesday night. It's 9 o'clock. You know what that means. Yeah, you know what that means. It's time for Arnie. It's time for Chappie. And it's time for some fantasy baseball talk. And joining me once again, the one, the only, Phil Chappie.
My man Arn, what's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing great, Chappie. Great show you had tonight. I was loving it. I was watching a baseball game, listening to you talk baseball. I was kind of going crazy all at one time, with everything going on. But great show, brother. Great show.
Thank you very much. It's funny. It used to be when I started these out, right? You get nervous about talking in front of folks and all that stuff. Now I get nervous because I don't want to mess the information up. You put all this work in, right? You're getting all this good stuff, and you just really want to make sure you get the right and helpful information across. So I enjoy doing it. I know you do too.
Love it. It's a passion. It really is. It's a passion. And you and I were talking off air before we went on air just for a few moments. As soon as we work out a few kinks with this new system, I love this new system. It's just great. And everybody else seems to love it too. And we just keep, praising the system. I love the network. Lenny and Andrea are just awesome to work for. Don't you think?
Oh, it's funny. You realize there's a bunch of people out there that are struggling to get just a little bit of notoriety and all that stuff, and here we are. We just have this great network with a bunch of great people, and I just feel honored to be a part of it. And the big birthday boy, right? He's
72, man, 72.
Our fearless leader.
And one thing, if I could just take a moment, are you ready? For Lenny, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Let's stop
But at least he can say his two favorite broadcasters. That's right. That's right. What more can you ask for? I tell you what, before we get started, I got a question. You don't have to answer right now. But this has nothing to do with our show. This is new material. I'm really catching you off guard. But here you go with one. Let's say you had to pick 2 out of 3. Position doesn't matter. You could play them at utility. And here's who you have to choose from. For the rest of the season, I don't mean this week or next week, but for the rest of the season, here are your 3 choices. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, here we go. Number 1, Will Myers. Number 2, Rougned Odor. And number 3, Mr. Piscotty for Oakland. And you got to pick 2 out of 3. You got to leave one in the trash pile. My theory, my way of talking, stash or trash. So, Chappie, you got to trash one of them. You don't have to do it right now. I'll let you come back to that. You know what I want to find out first?
What's that?
What's going on in the National League West?
Well, a lot. It's an interesting division, right? I'll tell you, I know we're kind of doing this buy and sell, so how to attack it, right? Traditionally, you want to start from the top and going down. I'm going to start with a surprise team. So, perception. Here's a surprise team in NL West to you, Arn.
To me, it's the Padres.
What about the 20 and 15 Arizona Diamondbacks?
Another one. They're both right there, right? Okay, so let's talk about those D-backs. I want to hear about it.
I'll tell you, it's interesting. So the first thing I want to say is everybody talks about them being, tanking this year and, not spending money and letting their stars go. Well, hasn't exactly panned out like that, has it? They've been actually pretty good. Easy, can you hear me better? Easy says I'm quiet, Arnie.
Let's see what we can do about that.
Yeah. So my take, he's typing. My take on the volume the same for you, both of you, is what he says, Arn.
I've got the dots at the end of the yellow line. We don't want to go into the red. and not quite sure why we're both not picking up any better than we are. But I'll keep working on it. How about that?
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, successes of the Diamondbacks. The first guy I think about is Ketel Marte. Here's a kid who, there we go, awesome. Good where we're at, Arnie.
Okay.
Sounds great, he says.
Awesome.
So Ketel Marte, yeah, here's a kid. Kind of been mulling around for a couple of years now, right? But he's kind of found his mojo. He's stepping up as a leader in that clubhouse. He's at 261. He's got 9 homers already, Arn. I'm not saying that he's going to hit 40 homers, but I think it's really reasonable for this kid to hit 25 homers and steal 15 bases at a 280 clip.
And, Chappie, I look at Marte, and the thing that I love multiple positional players. I know you do too. Yeah. And you're looking at a kid that's going to have second base, shortstop, outfield. You got to love that. I mean, where can't you play him? Other than third and first, he can play anywhere else on the field. So,
and what I like most about Marte is he has an established floor, right? At 24 years old, what he can give you, and you can live with that. But the fact of the matter is, he has proven that he is much more talented than that. So I am very much buying in on Ketel Marte. I'm gonna live and die with this guy.
You sound a little hesitant, Chappie. Uh-oh.
So I picked him up early in the year. I was quite proud of myself. I patted myself on the back. We talked about it ad nauseum as I traded away my 2 ace pitchers. Christian Walker was one of the chips in that trade. I rationalized it away that he was possibly a flash in the pan. I'm still saying it, for the good. He's hitting .306. He's got 7 homers, 20 runs, 16 RBIs. He's even got 3 stolen bases. Pretty darn good, right?
And when you consider whose place he took, right? Yeah. I mean, it's not like he came in behind, me. He came in behind Paul Goldschmidt. By gosh. I mean,
So, I'm not saying I don't think he'll do well. I'm saying I think he's going to tail off. I think he's a 260 hitter, Arnie. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Here's what I don't know. There's so much unknown there. The fact I don't know. I have nothing to base it on. I have no 2017. I have no 2018.
Right.
And it's like, the Alonso kid in New York. I mean, yeah, the first 2 weeks he hit, 355, 360. Well, he's not that kind of hitter. The last week he's hit, 180? Well, he's not that hitter either. Right. So he's somewhere between those. Well, probably the same thing with your boy Christian. I mean, I think maybe 275. The thing that concerns me is the division. I mean, it's not, the Giants, they're not good, but they can pitch a little bit,
Right.
The Dodgers can pitch. The Padres can pitch. I mean, he's going to face some. Colorado can pitch. I mean, their staff, especially out of Coors, put it up with anybody. So he's, half his schedule is brutal as far as the pitching he's going to face. I guess the good thing for him is the Dodgers are loaded with lefties, and so are the Padres. So at least he's going to get a taste of left-handers, even though they're really good left-handers. And the right-handers he's facing in division, Walker Buehler, not too shabby, right?
Right.
And Colorado has an ace. Paddock for San Diego. I mean, of course, he's on. He's going to face all these guys. So you may be right. The 260 number is probably realistic.
Yeah, and I think the thing about it is this whole game is about an exercise of maximizing potential, right? I mean, that's how I look at it anyway. So you're talking about when you look at these guys, you want to get rid of them at the right time, and you want to pick them up at the right time. That's all I'm ever trying to do when I'm trading is maximize potential, right? I mean, you don't trade just to flip a guy off. I mean, that's not how it works. You trade a guy when he's hot, or you pick a guy up when he's cold, anticipating him becoming hot. So, I think this is a perfect example of, he's at 306 now. He's not going to be nearly as valuable if he's down at 270.
Exactly right.
That's just my take on it.
Well, that's like I don't know if you heard me earlier, and I'm not going to use this player when I talk about the Mets later, so I can talk about him now, right? But I said earlier, I think last week I said it again today. Great time to trade Syndergaard.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
especially if you're not confident in what he did, right?
right now, if you love Syndergaard, he's your neighbor, he's your
Right.
second cousin, first removed, whatever. Yeah, keep him. I don't want to have any family disharmony here. But
Right.
unless you're in that kind of situation, I mean, here you go. He shut out 9 innings, 11 Ks. Wow, he's pitching against the Padres tonight in Petco. If he has another great game, who's hotter pitching wise than Thor?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's not like you're trying to one-side a deal on. Yeah, you're not as confident as you were when you drafted him, right? That's the whole name of the game. I mean, you can sit there and name a whole list of folks that are like that.
Sure.
You drafted a guy, you've seen what he puts on the field now, and you look for opportunities to maximize on it. So, that's it's a fine line you're walking. That's all. So, but anyway, let's move on.
Yes, yes. You got another team for me?
Yeah, sure. Let's go. This is my favorite one, actually. Let's go with the Padres.
Oh, I love the Padres.
So,
wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. Are we going to talk about Franmil Reyes?
No.
Oh!
We can. We absolutely can, Arnie. But no, I think I'm fine, right? So my buy is Chris Paddock.
Okay, I love it because I was talking about him during the preseason. Remember?
Oh yeah.
I was like, get Paddock now.
Yeah. But here's the other thing, Arnie. He's also my sell. And I want to talk about it from both points of perspective, right?
Sure.
So, I think it's really interesting. This kid, boy, last night was I was studying, actually, when that was going on, and seeing that whole interaction with Alonso. I was neutral to him. I knew his talent. I've been tracking him. But to see that kind of piss and vinegar, if you will, out of him, just gave me a whole new sense of appreciation what kind of player he is. So, the positive.
He was really ticked off, wasn't he?
Well, he was playing purpose. It showed. And you think back to those really good pitchers, they all kind of had that grit, right? That edge. And that's what a true ace is. So, it's good to see that out of these young kids. And I think this is an ace. He might be the best pitcher in the NL West.
Oh.
He might be better than Robert Buehler. He might be better than, all those guys. So, it's interesting to see what's happened with him. On the other side of it, though, he's not going to pitch but 125, 150 innings this year.
Yeah, and he got 7 2/3 of them last night.
Yeah, so there's going to be long periods of time where he's going to be an opener or he's just not going to pitch at all. Because if they're going to be in the race at all, they're going to want to save him for down the stretch. So I see both sides of it. I think it's an interesting dilemma, right? So since we talked about the same player, can we talk about Franmil?
I listened to you at 7 at the ball game, and you started talking about Franmil Reyes, and gosh, I felt like I was talking about a few of my boys here. Yeah, let's talk about Franmil. Let's do it.
But, here's the thing about this kid. He kind of came out, he had prodigious power last year. Everybody knew that coming up, right? So he came up, he had his first cup of coffee, and he hit some homers. He started out hot, but then he totally cooled off, right? To the point that they sent him back down. And he went down and he worked. He fixed his hole in his swing, and he came up and he really put it all together the end of last year. So we're talking about a guy who's, in my mind, who's proven to me to care enough to take instruction, to be smart enough to work hard at it and fix that hole. And now is on the verge of superstar. I mean, if he hits 245 the rest of the year, I'm happy. But he's at 326 the last 2 weeks. He's at 289 the last month. He ain't hitting 245, buddy.
Yeah, you know, the knock on him was last year. Was the long swing. You know, he couldn't catch up. If you bust him inside, you know, he's done. He's fixed that. The thing I love about these hitters and pitchers too, depending on the angle you take, is how they make adjustments on the fly, so to speak. They work on those weaknesses. And Reyes, he may not be the best defender in the world, but, you know, neither was Dave Kingman, and he hit 38, 40 homers every year and made quite a career for himself. I mean, Reyes can hit. And I love that Padres team.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, and you know, the farm system as well. I'll tell you that they're going to be something to reckon with for years to come because they're set up well.
And I know I'm taking you off the beaten track just for a moment, but Urias, I think it's days, not months, or days, not weeks, rather, before Luis Urias is back up for San Diego. He was killing it at AAA last week.
Yeah, I've always kind of liked him and never really understood. I mean, I know he started off slow this year, but he's certainly not going to. So Easy says I'm still much lower.
I don't understand because I'm getting.
I know. But yes, to your point, I think that Luis Urias is definitely an average guy who can, you know, depending on where he's in the lineup, can score a lot of runs, hit for a pretty high average early on in his career. And you put him in the 1 or 2 hole in that lineup, I mean, he could get a lot of runs, right? So I could see that definitely.
So we're buying Franmil Reyes. We may be selling Chris Paddock because the innings limitation, like that point. Let's move on to another team. Who you got next?
Oh, well, I kind of the Giants.
This can't take long.
No, I just got one entry. Sell. And it's whoever you can.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, what about Mac Williamson? They're just throwing a curveball at you. They call him up tonight. He has totally annihilated the PCL, which I know is the PCL, okay? But he's hitting over 500 with a bunch of bombs over the last week. They call him up and they put him in Colorado, of all places. So, any chance this guy sticks? I mean, what do you think?
Arnie, I could hit 250 in the PCL. No, I think that, you know, it's funny. I'll be totally. The one that I'm interested to see, and I know he's a ways away yet, is Helio Ramos. He's the one that everybody kind of says is the next big thing in San Francisco. I think Mac Williamson's probably a middling player, maybe a 25-8 in his prime. I don't think he's ever going to be anything special, but serviceable. You know, I don't know.
It's a sad state of affairs in San Francisco offensively, no doubt about it.
Yeah, they're hard to watch right now, definitely. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time.
So we're left with two teams, and you got to love these two teams. We're either going to talk about the Dodgers, or we're going to talk about the Rockies, or we're going to talk about both. And how about if we talk about the Rockies next? Can we do that?
Oh, if you're going to twist my arm.
Yeah. Well, it's twisted.
Well, so, I know we kind of get these biases, and I know you're with me on this. My sell is going to be none other than Mr. Trevor Story.
Selling Story.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's open that book up, and let's talk about why we're selling Story.
Well, I mean, obviously it's funny. You get these players who have these cult-like followings, right? I'm just saying, from my perspective, if you own Trevor Story and you don't have an affinity towards him, a la Javier Baez or Cody Bellinger, or one of these players that people just tend to love, right?
Javi Baez. Yeah.
Exactly. Why not get rid of him? Well, he's hitting 270, and he's got 8 homers. He's got 28 runs and 23 RBIs and 7 stolen bases. We talked about this a lot, Arnie. I know you feel this way as well. Trevor Story's not a 270 hitter.
No, he's a 245 hitter, 250 hitter on a good day.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that if you are in a league and you do have Trevor Story and you're not closely tied to him, why not maximize your draft capital and trade him for the...
Not sure what happened, Chappie. Hold on just a second. I'll get you right back. Something happened to our connection, and so I don't know what happened, but it went bad, but we're getting you back. So let's see. Are you back with me, Chappie?
I hear you.
Something happened, and I don't know what happened, but I got you right back. So we didn't miss much. So here we go. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. Easy, can you give us verification? We'll go ahead and keep talking. So anyway, if you are in a position where you have Story and you happen to have stumbled across the Quetzal Marte, everybody knows that the middle infield is deep, 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 right? Why not flip him? Awesome. We're good. Why not flip him for you could get a number 1 pitcher out of him?
Okay, so let's say you do that, and now you're without. I'm just playing devil's advocate with you, and I don't disagree with trading Story. All right, so let's say you flip him for Noah Syndergaard. Okay, all right, who I'm wanting to trade if I had him, and we make that trade, and now you've got to find a shortstop.
Well, again, I mean,
Ketel Marte's a great one, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's the thing. So at this point, we're talking about I'm building from depth because I've done that earlier on in the year, right? So it's all about, like, you're not building it now. Although there's players coming, there's certainly, options out there. And, you could get maybe one of these post-type sleepers that aren't doing so well who, a Carter Kaboom or a Cole Tucker, and kind of hang on. You might get a Jose Peraza that got dropped. You might get, there's a whole plethora of scenarios. Second base and shortstop is ridiculously deep.
Iglesias for Cincinnati.
Exactly. So, I think that if that's something that it's funny. Trading's all about, like, just being flexible and maximizing whatever other people are willing to get rid of, right?
Yeah, and I try my best, and you can't always do this, but I try my best in most of my leagues. Now, the only league I can't say this about is the league I'm in with you, where I drafted Judge and Stanton and Andujar. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
the walking wounded. But I don't have Yankees on my team because I'm not emotionally tied to these other guys. I'll cut somebody in a New York second or trade them. Now, if they were Aaron Judge, I don't want to trade Aaron Judge. He's my boy. But that's why it doesn't pay for me to have Yankees. Now, I know you have the infinity for the Cubs as I do the Yankees, and you just got Javi Baez. I love how listeners need to know this. Chappie and I talk to each other about trades before they're made, okay? And even though I trust my own judgment, it's like I need a sounding board, and Chappie treats me the same way. And so I'm getting bombed like one day with Javi Baez trade questions, and I'm loving it. But if you can take that out of the equation, it's an awesome thing to do, and it's hard to do sometimes with players that you have this liking to.
I'll tell you just a real quick story. Last year, the Cubs struggled, particularly Chris Bryant. I had Chris Bryant in just about every format, and it was really hard selling him. But you know what? I had the discipline to do it, Arnie. And guess what? I don't have Chris Bryant in any league. and it's because I wasn't willing to put up with, him on and off the DL, the bum shoulder, and all that. So, you do have to be disciplined. You do have to know, I'm lucky this year. I mean, my team's healthy, so I've been able to buy Kyle Schwarber. I've been able to buy Javi. I've been able to buy Contreras. So, these are guys that I want to buy this year, right? Whereas last year, I was selling those folks. So, it's just about knowing what, again, I treat it just like everything else. Who's ascending? Who's descending? I mean, I look at it strictly as a numbers type scenario. So, but anyway, selling Trevor Story, Arn.
So, who are we keeping on Colorado? Anyone? I mean, I would never trade Arenado, although he is on.
Well, yeah, I mean, those guys are kind of no-brainers. I mean, even Charlie Blackmon is kind of a no-brainer, right? I'll tell you who I think you can get at a discounted price, if you want him, is Germán Marquez.
He's a great pitcher. I think it's got to be the wrap of pitching in Denver as your home field because this guy can really pitch. I also think it may be because he's in the Mountain Time Zone. We don't see these guys in the Mountain Time Zone or the Pacific Time Zone as much. At least you and I don't because it's 10:30 or 9:30 when they're starting games at night. But, yeah, he's a real ace, and not just in the making. He's an ace.
Right. And the thing about it is, if you look back at it, I'm looking at his game-by-game log, he's struggled. The last 4 times out, he's given up more than 2 runs. He gave up 5 earned runs last time.
And maybe that's our next show to talk about struggling pitchers because I'm sure we could fill up an hour on that one.
Oh, sure. But that's the thing is what I'm trying to say to you is like, just like we talked about last week with Cincinnati. And you see what's happening in Cincinnati, Arn. They're starting to wake up, right?
Right.
But it's still cold in Denver. The ball's not traveling. The arms aren't warm. Give these guys another 2 or 3 weeks. But my point is if you have an owner who's getting antsy, you might be able to lowball Germán Marquez.
Can I interject one more player? I know we need to finish. We've got the Dodgers, and I don't want to. Well, we'll talk as long as we need to. But taking that same theory, Chappie, can you apply it to Ian Desmond? It's cold in Denver. It's just as cold. It's just as cold for Ian Desmond as it is for a pitcher.
No, I'm not denying it. I just am not. Like he's burned me in the past, Arn. He's burned me in the past. I just. And
once you touch that fire, you don't want to go back near it, do you?
Exactly. And I'll tell you, I mean, looking at their lineup, though, a guy who intrigues me is David Dahl.
The thing is, like, Dahl's out of the lineup tonight. Here's the thing that really is frustrating for me with David Dahl. Not only is there always this the A.J. Pollock syndrome, but then he doesn't play all the time when he's healthy.
Yeah.
And give me a guy who's going to play 9 out of 10 games if he's healthy. And that part of it frustrates me about Dahl is he doesn't play all the time even when he's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's the difference though between him and Pollock is what, about 7 years?
Oh gosh, I guess I shouldn't even mention that name.
I mean, I'm with you. I've kind of soured on him for years now because of the injury record. But there's one thing you can't deny. Man, that kid can hit. When he's in that lineup, he can hit. It'll be interesting to see when the balls warm up this summer. If he can stay healthy, he could be someone again, he's got one of these cult-type followings. People love David Dahl.
Yeah.
But if you have someone, or if you have him, and you don't care about him, I mean, he's someone that has that name recognition. But boy, when it gets warm, he showed last year at the end of the year that he could really light him up. So just intriguing. I don't know if I'm buying or selling. I guess I put him more on a Interesting.
Yeah, that sounds like
You know?
me. If you heard my show at 6, I was like, I'm not telling you to buy this guy. I'm just saying keep your eye on him,
Right. Yeah.
Well, there's
So,
one more team in that division, and you talked about Belly earlier, and I sent you a somewhat sarcastic text. Do you trade Trout for Bellinger? But talk about those Dodgers. Wow.
I say this begrudgingly. They're the best team in baseball right now. I mean, they're complete. They have everything going for them. They got good young players. They got a farm system that can supplement them. They got speed. They got power. They got, a triple crown candidate in the middle of their lineup. They got an aging ace who's, playing as if he's 5 years younger. You have an overachieving superstar ace right behind him, learning from him. I mean, what more could you ask for, Arnie?
I watched that game last night with Atlanta, and of course,
Yeah.
Buehler gave up the 2 bombs. But other than the 2 bombs, Buehler was very impressive.
Yeah.
He had command of that fastball. He was getting Braves hitters out with it high in the zone, low in the zone. He was throwing his breaking ball. And but for the home runs in the 6th and 7th innings, he was in total control of that game. And then, I watched Urias come in, the young left-hander. Oh, Urias comes in the 9th and gets the save. Gosh, he does it all. I mean, he's like John Smoltz pre and post all in one. He's a starter one week, he's a closer the next week. I'm like, what can he do?
Let me say this. I'll say this very slowly and very clearly for the 3 people that are listening to us. Julio Urias is the future ace of that staff. People think it's Buehler. It's not. It's him.
I worry about Buehler, and I guess here we go. Years from now, we'll listen to this maybe, or maybe no, we never will. But I really worry about Buehler and the injury bug down the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think they're giving him too much too soon.
Well, think of all the innings he pitched last year.
Oh, I know.
I mean, they played every game you could play last year. They went to Game 7 of the World Series, and Buehler was the man on that staff. I mean, he was the go-to. And they gave him a reduced load in spring, and they're giving him a reduced load so far this year. But he's still, when he's out there throwing, how can you tell a 3-year-old colt not to run fast in the Kentucky Derby? I mean, it's one of those things. They're going to run fast. He's going to throw hard. And I don't know that it's I don't know. I just, long term, I can see shoulder problems, elbow problems, something as hard as he throws the ball.
So, just real quick, interesting story, because I want to move on, because I want you to get to your teams. I was listening this morning to someone, I don't remember who, I'd like to give him credit, but I don't remember who it was. Do you know what percentage of fastballs Walker Buehler threw last night?
Probably less than I want to remember. But it seemed like he was throwing it like every 3 out of 4. I mean, it seemed like he threw the fastball. I'm guessing.
He threw 77% fastballs.
Okay, I was close then. I mean, it seemed like he was, and again, he was throwing it high in the zone, low in the zone. He was commanding that fastball.
Yeah.
And at 98 miles an hour.
Right. With movement too, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's interesting that we could probably spend a whole segment on that Dodgers pitching staff, couldn't we?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, we hadn't even talked about Ross Stripling. I guess the Cinderella on that team would be Maeda. Maeda, if he's your 5th starter, you're in pretty good shape, aren't you?
Yeah, and then you talk about that back end of the bullpen with Jensen and Baez and Alexander. I mean, they're just, like I said, they're deep. But real quick, so who I'm selling? How about this kid was a first or second round draft pick last year. But this year, Corey Seager is hitting .234 with 2 homers. Yes, 22 runs, but only 11 RBIs and no stolen bases.
See, I'm buying Seager.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, My concern with him, Arn, is, and I guess it depends on your format, right? So if
Yeah.
you're talking about for a dynasty situation, that changes things. I'm talking about more like a keeper situation or a redraft, right? And I'm coming from perspective of even if he gets up to 280, 300, which is a 70-point game, how many homers is he going to hit you?
Well, let me throw this at you, and I'm not trying to change your mind, a.k.a. Robinson Chirinos, okay?
Yeah.
But I was right on that one, wasn't I? Anyway,
Yes, sir.
okay, but I'm not trying to change your mind, but I will throw this at you. In me looking at Seager, everything I read preseason was don't expect much out of him until June.
Okay.
And the point being was the injury he sustained last year. A lot of the people, and I was reading things online from Los Angeles, were saying that this type of injury, it really is not projected for him to have his full power capabilities back until June. Now, we got a whole month of May to go.
Right.
And I guess, which goes back to my initial question when I said pick 2 out of the 3, Odor or Piscotty or Will Myers, who can you afford to wait on? And at what
Right.
position can you afford to wait on it?
Right.
Now, that could all be wrong. And if Seager hits 230, yeah, cut bait and move on.
Right.
So it's just something. Who knows? But I think in the next month we'll start to see either an uptick or not. And you look at other players without injuries like Matt Carpenter. Certainly, you can look at him and say, "Oh, he's stinking up the joint." But we expect more out of Matt Carpenter, don't we?
No, but I mean, you look at him last year; he was streaky last year. I mean, same thing with Goldschmidt. So maybe there is something to be said about these guys just turning it on and getting hot for like a month and a half, 2 months, because it does happen, So, real quick, I'm buying Justin Turner.
He's a hitter. He's just a hitter.
He's always given you average, and the years that he hasn't given you average, he gave you pretty significant homer and power numbers, right? So at 282 with 1 homer, I look for a big positive regression from him coming up. I think you could probably get him cheaply, and if you have a need at third base, that'd be somebody I'd be targeting.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Are you ready to answer my lineup question, or you want a few more minutes to ponder that while we talk about the right side of the coast, the East?
Go ahead. Let's get you done.
All right, I'm going to go in alphabetical order. I'll make it real simple, okay, if I can remember my alphabet. And that means I'm going to start in Hotlanta with the Braves. And I'm going to talk about 3 players if I can.
Of course.
And, I love it. I love it, Chappie. So there's one guy I got to get rid of. I just got to put him in my trash heap. I've been patient with him. I was patient with him last year, and he stayed hurt, and now I'm gonna give it away. It's a calf injury. It's always something. And there's a guy at AAA who I want to talk about who I want to keep in his place. So it's an easy trade out, right? I got to get rid of Josh Donaldson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Riley guy, so I'm totally with you.
Well,
I mean,
I got you some numbers. I got you some numbers then. You're going to love this. Okay.
Go ahead.
No, Riley. Okay, well, let me give you some Donaldson numbers. Okay, he's you know them probably because you're the savant of all savants. He's hitting 250, but he's 0 for his last 10. Okay, and he hadn't played in 2 of those games. So, like for May, he's 0 for 10. Check out Austin Riley last night. Did you see the ball he hit over the freaking scoreboard?
No, I mean, but this kid, people just don't realize how good he is.
He hit a ball, it's estimated between 490 and 500 feet last night. It went over the scoreboard. He was 4 for 5, hit 2 home runs. Check this out, Chappie. His last 6 games, 5 home runs, and in that clip, he's hitting .542 with an OPS of 1.333.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, this kid is.
He's Jordan Alvarez. I mean, he's in
yeah.
that category, right?
Absolutely. I was just getting ready to say he might be the best talent in the minors right now, and I'd say those two are probably the clear cut at this point in my mind. So yeah, I don't understand. I didn't understand. I think we talked about it. I didn't understand when they signed him in the off season. I didn't understand, when they said they were going to give Austin Riley more time in the minors. He's ready. I saw him last year 2 times in AAA. He's ready. He was ready then. So this kid's an all-star waiting to happen. Donaldson's just he's an anchor. You're going down with that shit, man.
No doubt. So I'm stashing Riley. I'm trashing Donaldson, and you're going to love me for this because as I heard you talking earlier, I'm like, Chappie's going to love this. But here's a kid. You talk about Walker Buehler, who is a great talent. I love Walker Buehler, but there's one young pitcher I like even more than Walker Buehler, and his name is Mr. Soroka. I got to have me all the shares of Soroka I can get my hands on. Do you know, I've told you about this league I'm in with 8 teams. It's super, ultra competitive. You let a rookie, anything be posted online that so-and-so is coming up, and in seconds, I don't mean minutes, in seconds, this guy is plucked, okay? Soroka's sat on the waiver wire for 3 stinking weeks.
Love it.
I grabbed him. I got him. And he ain't going away.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. How many times can you remember a 21-year-old being a team's ace?
I can't. And, Fried is a number 2, and Soroka's a number 1. And you look at those 2 guys and their collective age, oh, my gosh.
Scary. And to know what's behind them, too, right? I mean, so now having that ace filled in at 1, and like you said, Fried filled in at 2, everything just settles nicely behind it, right? It doesn't matter who the 3 is. Fulte can handle the 3.
Yeah.
Whatever. Put Gosman at 4.
No.
I know.
No, because I'm trashing Gosman.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, but we all know that the youth is on its way, and it's.
Don't you think Tukey is so much better than Gosman right now?
Absolutely. I mean, you could go. Newcomb is. I mean, you could go right down the line. You could name off 5 or 6 of those guys. Kyle Wright is. It is what it is. He's making a lot of money, so he's going to get every chance to be awful.
Yeah, like he always has been with. I mean, I love watching watch him come out, Gosman. I just keep thinking he's an Oriole. And last night he pitched like an Oriole. He'd have been better off if he'd served the suspension last night. Anyway, enough about him. So those are my Braves. Can I move on to the next in alphabetical order? Would be the Miami Marlins. Yes, and I have 3 players to talk about there quickly.
Awesome.
3. Can I talk about my trash or trade him first?
Yeah, absolutely.
Castro. Yuck. Yuck. You know what he's batting in the month of May?
I'm assuming it's not good.
Well, it's May 7th, okay? So, trivia question. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you sure?
I mean, no, but go ahead.
Trivia question. Who has more hits in the month of May? Phil Chappie, Arnie Jones, or Starlin Castro?
I'm going to guess.
It's kind of a trick question.
Yeah, I'm going to guess it's a tie.
It's a 3-way tie. The difference being, of course, you and I haven't batted in the major leagues, and Castro is 0 for 19 for May. He's batting .214.
That ain't good.
And he's a Cub. Come on.
No, he's not.
He used to be. He used to be a Yankee too, right? Maybe that's why the Cubs and Yankees got rid of him. I don't want any Castro. I don't want any Starlin Castro on my fantasy teams. He's got to go.
I agree.
I got 2 guys I do like though.
Yes, I'd love to hear him.
Well, he was traded in the offseason. He was traded from Philadelphia to Miami.
Oh, yeah.
I'm loving it. I'm loving
Yeah.
me some Jorge Alfaro, baby. Jorge Alfaro and his 278 average and his 5 round trippers. Loving it.
Hey, he's doing better than Real Muto, isn't he?
More home runs.
Yeah.
And average is probably at least as good.
Yeah. I mean, here's a kid who's always kind of had power and has always been talented. I gotta say I agree with you. I'm looking at it, 278, 5 homers. That's out of a catcher. That's absolutely respectable.
And
We're
we're catcher thin. We're catcher thin in the major leagues. We talk.
Can you find anybody to give them to you?
There's the question.
Because young catchers are a prized possession, right?
He's not a Contreras, but let me throw this at you.
Yeah.
Because I know you don't want to trade Contreras. I don't want to trade Realmuto. But if I could trade Realmuto, or you could trade Contreras, and in a just sort of pickup beside of the road kind of trash deal, Alfaro was included in the deal, you might make a big winner out of that situation.
Well,
I know you don't want to trade Contreras, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
were there to be a guy like Phil Chappie who's in love with Wilson Contreras, then you could trade and say, okay, throw me Alfaro to go along with it.
Oh, I'd do it in a second.
Yeah.
I wouldn't blink an eye.
And here's a pitcher for you. Let me throw you some numbers. I know you love
I
numbers.
thought you were going to give me 2 pitchers, Art.
No, I'm gonna give you one. I'm gonna make it easy. I got 3 more teams, so we got to move. Okay, but here I've talked about this guy a little earlier today on my show, but here we go. 33 innings at AAA New Orleans. 38 strikeouts, 5 walks. ERA 0. I did say 0. 0.81. WHIP. Are you ready? 0.57.
Yeah.
Mr. Gallen, Zach Gallen.
Yeah. I mean,
He's up in May. I think he's up this month.
he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys. I guess easy is on a 10. I love Gallen. We talked about him, so I absolutely am interested in kind of follow him every day. So he's certainly got a lot of potential and has proven his worth in AAA. I think May is probably a realistic timeline. So if you have an NL spot or an NA spot that you can fill him in, I totally agree with you. Stashing him.
I was reading something out of Miami, and they were ranking their prospect pitchers, and they said that the number 1 pitcher in the Marlins system is Caleb Smith. We can go with that, right? And number 2 is Zach Gallen.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's move along because we don't want to take up Easy's time. We want to be out here at 10, and we're going to be.
He's got that guy for the Redskins he's interviewing tonight.
That's a great listen. We got to listen to that.
Absolutely.
There's so many great podcasters on this network, and
it really is. Yes, I totally agree. It's such an awesome experience with the internet chat and all that stuff. It's really cool to kind of get everybody's perspective.
It really is. I'm gonna be quick. I'll be quick with the Mets, okay? Because I'm really down on the Mets.
No.
I mean, I'm down on them.
Yeah.
They're like bottom of the feeder for me. But I do have one guy to keep and one guy to get rid of. One guy I love with the Mets is Jeff McNeil.
Oh. Yes, agreed.
And the one guy I don't want, and I'm trashing him. I'm trashing second baseman tonight. I'm trashing old second baseman tonight. Robbie Cano.
Yeah, he's kind of looked lost, hasn't he?
He has.
It's interesting. The thing with McNeil is he uses that old school bat.
I love watching it. It's like a softball bat or something.
Yeah,
you know?
with a real thick handle, right?
Yeah.
So, he's just an old school type of player that it's just kind of gritty. I love watching him hit. So
I love anybody that bats 352, Chappie.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'd like to see him get a little bit more power, but man, I'll tell you take that all day long.
Give me some McNeil, and give me a combination platter of McNeil and Joey Gallo. Okay?
No,
I'll take the 352 and the 270 and all the home runs that Gallo can hit And I'm
Totally
a
agree.
happy camper.
Totally agree.
So let's talk about the Phillies. We got 8
sir.
minutes. We got 8 minutes. We're going to squeeze all this in.
Yeah.
You know, I love the Phillies. I love the offense. And right now, and I know you did it too, we went through the standings on both shows tonight. And it seems like the Phillies and the Braves are creating just a little bit of separation between those two teams and the next two teams.
Yeah.
So as we go through, it seems like Philadelphia's love fest with Odubel Herrera. When's it going to end? I got to get rid of him, Chappie. Come on, I got to get rid of Odubel.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Arn. I've never really seen it from him. I know that they've given him chance after chance, and I know that there's been a couple years where he's done all right with the stats, but I've never been a big fan. So, you know, they must, I don't know, maybe he has some pictures or something.
I don't know. You know, he's so, of course, a lot of players are streaky. I get that. But it's like Odubel lives in a different atmosphere than everyone else. You know, it's like the game is played differently and not always fundamentally sound from Odubel. And now you've got a win now mentality in Philadelphia that Odubel Herrera has never really been a part of before. And now he's hitting 239. I mean, I just got to get rid of him. I really think, and when I say get rid of him, I think I'd cut Odubel Herrera. I think that's how poorly I feel about Odubel Herrera right now. I put him in the Starling Castro.
Yeah, I mean, you're not getting anything for trade out of him,
No.
that's for sure.
But here's a guy I really like. You know, the pitching staff, they had problems with Pivetta. I don't know if he'll ever make it, really.
Right.
But one kid I really like on that staff is Eichhoff. I watched him pitch a couple of times now, and I'm talking stats for a moment. 27 strikeouts, 2.05 ERA, 1.05 whip. But I've watched him pitch, and he looks like a pitcher. He's not just a hard thrower.
Yeah. And that's a lot can come from that, right? And that's kind of like where I am with, I don't know if you heard me talking about DeSclafani.
I did. The Italian Stallion, DeSclafani.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's kind of the same thing, right? You see these guys kind of take these big steps forward, and maybe it doesn't always show in the stats, but it is. There's an improvement there, right? So, I'm looking at his numbers. They sure are. 2.05 ERA, 1-1. He's got a save.
He's a Julio Urias in sheep's clothing. I'm telling you, he does it all.
Yeah.
So I want some shares of him if I'm needing a pitcher. He's the kind of guy. Now, we talked about pitchers earlier. You know, I've got this man crush on my pitcher in Minnesota now, the lefty. You know that. But, I mean, if I'm looking at a pitcher and all these other guys are gone, I think Eichhoff is probably one of those who's still left, if anybody's left, who can actually give you some decent numbers and not hurt you in fantasy. That's why I like him. So,
I wish he was less in my leagues, Arn.
Yeah, well, you know, we didn't cover him in preseason. If we had talked about him in preseason, you may have had him instead of Robinson Chirinos. You know, that's just the way it goes. Hey.
Yeah.
And then there was one, and we will have covered all 30 teams, and it's the lowly Washington Nationals. It's painful to talk about. You know, I was going to talk about getting rid of Carter Kieboom, but the Nationals stole my thunder because they sent him down this afternoon. So I can't talk about the always 47% strikeout king, Carter Kieboom. So instead I'll talk about Brian Dozier. And again, it's one of these things, I'm getting rid of old second baseman tonight. And let's add him to the Cano and Starling Castro list. 181, and he's 0 for his last 18.
Yeah, that's not good.
Painful. But I tell you a guy I like. I tell you somebody I would trade for because I think his numbers right now are good, but I think this summer they're going to get even better.
I hope you're going to say who I think you're going to say.
I got to say Robles.
Yeah.
I mean, he's hitting.
Totally with you, man.
I'm with Robles. He's hitting 262. That's going to go up. He's already hit 6 home runs. He's already got 8 stolen bases. Okay, prediction, he's going to lead the National League in stolen bases, all right? And it's going to be between he and Tatis Jr. for Rookie of the Year. That's my prediction. Now,
I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable.
I think Robles is 285 when the season ends. I think he'll stay high in the order because Dozier's going to fall out when they get Turner back. And that's the thing, Washington, I don't even know who their team is right now because Soto's on the IL, Turner's on the IL. Who's playing first? I could do a little takeoff on that. Yeah. Saturday, right? Okay, anyway.
So let's see. May 6th, their lineup. We got 2 minutes. May 6th, their lineup, they had Howie Kendrick at first, which is not bad. They had Dozier at second. They had Kaboom at short. And they had Wilmer Depot at third.
Oh, man. I could hear the thunderstorms brewing with that team. I mean,
Andrew Stevenson playing left field. I don't even know who that is.
Oh, my gosh. What a team. I mean,
wow.
This isn't sounding good at all, is it?
No, it's going to be a long year if they keep throwing that crap out. So.
No doubt. Well, Chappie, I tell you what, it's been great being with you tonight. We got to get going.
Right buzzer, right?
Yeah, right at the buzzer. We got to get going. Roundtable, Easy Kill coming up. Great interview. Stay tuned. What a great day it's been for fantasy sports here on the Lenny Melnick Fantasy Network.com. Chappie, take it away, buddy.
Love it. We'll do it again soon. Thanks for the time, guys. Thanks to everybody for joining in, and we'll see you guys next Thursday, if not before.
Toodaloo from Chappie and Arnie Fantasy Sports.
Later, guys.